Without the trades, the lights don't come on, the toilet doesn't flush.
Exactly.
You don't have shelter. So all of these people who go to uni and think that uni is a high at the end all and be all, without tradies, your uni wouldn't be there.
Welcome again to the Pump Creative Podcast. We have Aaron here today with us. Thank you for joining and coming along. If you'd like to just give a quick introduction about yourself, that'd be great.
Yep, thank you very much for having me on. My name's Aaron Huey. I'm a coach for Tradies. So I help men in construction with their mental health, their wellness, through introducing them to personal development. And having been a tradie for 20 years and then having some mental health struggles myself over the past couple of years.
Right.
When I went looking for someone to help me in that aspect, there wasn't really anything on the level that I needed.
Yes.
So I then looked into coaching. I got my own coaches. I became a coach to men and women while I was still within the trade. And what I found was I learned a few things through personal development and through coaching that were making me a better tradesman on site. I was able to negate things better, able to handle stress more. I wasn't getting so frustrated with things, but then also at home it was the same. I was able to help out, and I thought, if this is what I am finding, I wonder what other tradesmen are. So then I reached out to master builders and asked them what was out there, and they pretty much told me it was suicide prevention and depression talks.
Wow. Yeah.
Which are both within their own right are two great things. However, I saw that as a huge void that needed to be filled with just men opening up about what's going on for them.
Definitely.
And so that's now what I'm trying to build, trying to promote, trying to push out into the industry, because it's unfortunately it's still a bit of a stigmatism. It's still a bit of a thing that our men, specifically our older men, don't want to talk about. However, suicide rates in our industry negate that something needs to happen.
For sure. Yeah. Just like as you mentioned, there is that huge void where if it gets to the point where you have to reach out to a suicide prevention hotline or a depression hotline, it's already too late.
100%, yeah.
So I think it's great that you guys are, starting up, going into the space, filling up that void, which is very crucial. Speaking on the experiences, how was kind of the experience for you in a trade? What was the most difficult part of that kind of aspect that you experienced?
So for me, it was dealing with not only the things going on site. So when I was a site manager, I was running, sites where you could have 30 to 40 men of all different facets. They all have their own issues, as well as the logistics of looking after a site. And then, it was being able to handle that, but then also go home and not take that work home.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I learned that the hard way by taking some frustrations home. Me and my now ex-wife have 3 kids. 3 girls that we share. And unfortunately at the time, I wasn't dealing with that very well. So I was taking a lot of the frustrations and anger home.
Right.
And now that's what I see and try and promote in guys. It's like there needs to be a bit more of a release valve before you get home, so that you keep the stresses of work at work.
Definitely.
And you don't take them home, and vice versa. Whatever's going on for you at home with your wife, your kids, your partner, whatever it may be, you don't get up in the morning and take that to site, because then the first person you come across is going to feel the wrath of that. So for me, it was just finding ways to better maintain my own stress, anxiety, deal with things, because it's not something that's ever talking about on site.
For sure.
I found that back home in Scotland, and even here there was nothing really that anyone ever speaks about. It's just like kind of toughen up and get on with it. And which you need to have a little bit of that in the industry. However, there needs to be the kind of emotional intelligence side of it, of being able to actually know what's going on for you, but also know what's going on for your other people in your team. On your site.
For sure.
And there's a lot of stuff that we just bury our head in the sand and just hope that it all works itself out, which inevitably never happens.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Do you think it's a fault of the managers and the leaders in the industry as well, that where they're not basically providing enough guidance or training in that kind of trade environment?
Change needs to come not only from the guys want to change themselves, but the culture from above. There's a lot of change happening right now within the industry. With the huge introduction of bringing women into the trade. Women have always been in the trade. Now they're pushing more for them to be on site. So there's things that are going to have to change with bringing women into the construction more. But also, it's the older guys who, because that's the way it was, they think it's the way it should stay. And we need to kind of educate on both levels that. So for the new people coming into the industry, as well as the new girls coming into the industry, that it's a tough industry. You do need to have some resilience. You do need to have some grit to work in a tough industry, especially if you're on the ground, like kind of manual handling trades.
Yeah.
But also we need to, from the top down, the older guys who've been here for so long, part some of that knowledge onto the younger ones, but also understand that it's a completely different generation that are coming into it. That's, there's a lot of, I said on the stage over there before and I got a few laughs, there's a lot of dinosaurs in the industry. They've been here for 50, 60 years and you're never going to change them. However, that doesn't mean that the culture around them doesn't change, because realistically the new people who are coming into it now are going to be those leaders in 20, 30 years from now.
That's right.
So it's a bit of a balance. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it's definitely an overall cultural change. And that comes as well from the guys knowing that, it's okay to talk about what's going on for them, and it's okay to highlight that within themselves. You don't have to be vulnerable and cry at the drop of a hat, but you do have to be able to have some EQ skills with your staff and let them know that, if you're suffering, if something's going on for you, get it out. Because there are too many people suffer in silence. And, I have this joke that we all know a grumpy tradie on site who goes home to a 6-pack and a dog because they've lost their relationship with their wife, their kids. And then I say, if you don't know a grumpy tradie, that means it's you. And it always gets a laugh on site, but it's very true.
Yeah.
Like, most people in construction can probably count on one hand 4 or 5 older boys who all they know is work.
Yeah.
And it's definitely time for a change. Small steps, I think. I don't think we can change the industry overnight, but definitely small steps in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the older generation, these old dinosaurs that you mentioned, how do you kind of see them, I guess, being more prone to this kind of change because they're so fixed in their ways? Is there any better solutions for them to reach out as well?
Unfortunately, men specifically have got a pretty thick ego, especially older men, and they think they know best. And sometimes you're never going to change that. Sometimes something might have to happen in their life, some kind of, not tragic, but some pretty pivotal incidents in their life where they then reevaluate life. And then some older guys just, they don't want to change. They've done it for that long, and especially from a coaching perspective, like when I work with some of these middle-aged to older guys and try and help them change their habits, they've done the same thing for 30, 40 years. So it's not going to change overnight. Like, you can implement things and you have to keep working on them, but they want to change. You can't make people change, and unfortunately in the industry, I think a lot of the older guys who are towards maybe the end of their career, they feel like they've done their bit. They don't need to give back, or they don't need to change anything because they're on their way out or their career's finishing. So, and I've met, on the flip side of that, I've met so many people who are at the end of their career and they see the benefit in coaching, and they see the benefit in developing their people a little bit more when it comes to those kind of EQ skills. But I don't know. I don't have a 100% answer for that one.
Well, I think it's a great start about what you're doing, inspiring, I think, just others to get involved in the movement and basically raising the awareness. I think it's always a great start from that point of view.
Well, that's kind of why I take it upon myself, because there was no one there when the more conversations I have with people who agree with me or see the insights, I know that there's movement there, and I just keeping on. Like in the UK, they've got it a lot. They deal with it a lot better than what we have, and I'm trying to implement the same here. So in the UK, they have teams of guys who are coaches and counselors who have come from a trade background, who know it, and they go around the sites in their vans, and they actually do site presentations, and not just like a 15-20 minutes in the site office. Like, they shut the whole site down. Everybody comes together, and these guys talk about what they've been through, what they've learned, what other people are going through, and they're having a huge impact. I'm trying to implement that here. I'm trying to get people to help. I'm a one-man band right now, so it's building up to get those people who see the difference that needs to be made, who want to get involved, help with it. Cost is always going to come down to everything. Anytime I have this conversation, like I had it this morning on the way in, somebody was like, "Oh, who's going to shut down the site for 2 days?" And my response to that is, well, who pays for the site when it's shut down for 8 hours when one of the guys has suicided and the whole team has to go to a funeral?
Exactly.
And it hits home for people when you put it in that. It kind of arcs me out when people always go back to money. Oh, who's going to fund that? Who's going to fund that? It needs to be a construction collective of people. Everyone around here benefits from construction. Benefit from construction workers, whether it's the suppliers, whether it's the the people that work for it. And I think it's about time, as a a whole construction collective, we actually start giving back. Because if not, we're just going to lose a whole industry of men just because of their mental health.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's not just construction. I think that all industries have suffer similar kind of
Absolutely,
phase.
yeah.
But yeah, but more so, definitely more prevalent in the construction space. So would you say kind of your main target for the people that you coach or the specific market that you're looking to help, would it be better to stem from the youths, or would it be kind of the middle age kind of factor?
So right now, my main one-to-one coaching is the older tradies. So, the guys maybe 30 to 40, 50 who have their own family, might be going through some of the challenges that I went through. I am in partnership with a few other places who have got school leavers and helping the new generation come through, know that it's a tough industry.
Yes.
You have to have a thick skin to be in the industry. However, it's probably one of the best industries you can work in. It's really, to build something from scratch and see it finished and know that it's, if you know a trader, they always drive past and go, oh, I worked in that building, right? Did this there. So it's like, it's a bit of both. So my main focus was always tradesmen. However, the more and more I have these conversations and the more people I reach out to and see, we have a huge drop in our industry for male apprentices. And if I can give back to them from some, whether it's, words of wisdom, or whether it's, I was you when I was 2 years into my apprenticeship and I wanted to leave, and I remember my dad saying to me at the time, stick with it, get your trade ticket, because it's something you'll have for life. And that's a message I can give back to apprentices, because realistically, without my trade ticket, I wouldn't have been able to stay in Australia.
Oh, wow.
I'm originally from Scotland, so my carpentry ticket allowed me to apply for permanent residency. And it's 4 years of your life as an apprentice. You might never use it after those 4 years. However, you still have the skills. You still can utilize them. So, it's my main coaching is for men. However, I am slowly moving into empowering the younger trades coming through.
Definitely, yeah. It's great that you're in the space as well, helping the youths, because, me growing up in Australia as well, I feel like there was no education in terms of trade. So like we had no idea that was even a potential pathway. To be honest, it wasn't even looked down upon.
Oh, I had a conversation with a lady in America, podcast, and she said the exact same. She said blue collar workers are looked down. When you failed, you couldn't get to uni. And coming from the UK, and maybe it's just because that's my background, but that's not like, if you get a trade, you're doing well. And it's very interesting to hear that, and the fact that the trades are looked down upon. And my only retort to that is, without the trades, the lights don't come on, the toilet doesn't flush.
Exactly.
You don't have shelters. So all of these people who go to uni and think that uni is the end all and be all, without tradies, your uni wouldn't be there. So it's absolutely it's a little bit of a jab back at them, but it's much needed.
No, for sure. I mean, for me myself, going through uni, I definitely would not recommend it. You just, because at the end of it, you just piled up with debt, and then you don't really know what you want to do in life.
Unfortunately,
because you're just stuck with that debt. You think that's the only career pathway to go through, so you just tough it out, stick it out, and then you'll run down with all these issues as well down the line.
There's a few factors that go into it, but definitely there needs to be more advertising for trades and what the industry brings. And when you look at anything that's spoken about in the industry right now, especially when it comes from the suicide state, I can see why so many people don't want to get back into the industry. So there's a company called Productivity Bootcamp, and they take school leavers, they put them through an 8-week apprenticeship ready course, or trade ready course, let's say. They get them out on their site and they show them, this is how you measure things, this is how you cut things. They give them a few insights into different trades. So then after the 8 weeks, these guys and girls have got more of an insight of what it's like to be a tradie, rather than just leaving school and being like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And it builds the resilience in them, it builds the knowledge of what's expected of them. But also, what I found with speaking to the guys and girls out on the site there is they left school thinking they were stupid because they couldn't learn in a classroom. They couldn't count properly, or they couldn't, arithmetic wasn't their thing. So they leave school thinking they're stupid, but then they come into the trade and they realize that, okay, you do need to have some numeracy, you do need to know, quantities and how to measure them. However, you can learn as you go, and it's a different skill set. It doesn't all have to be on a blackboard or on a laptop, let's say, these days. So we definitely could do with marketing and tradies and apprenticeships a little bit better.
Absolutely, I think the education's, should do a better scope in terms of improvements on that factor, and just educating the next generation, because without the next generation, as you mentioned, everybody won't be in the industry. Everyone will start aging, having their own fixed ways. So I think the next generation of youth is really important. But you touched upon kind of the joyous moments of yourself being in the industry. So from these 20 years, what would be kind of the main highlights or happiest moments of your time?
So I don't know if it's a happy moment, but one of the highlights is when this actual ICC was getting built. I spent 9 months here.
Oh wow!
I worked some very long hours in this building.
Yeah.
And the company that I worked for, we did all of the timber stairs that run up. My job was to install all of the PC items in the bathrooms. So I've pretty much been in every single bathroom in the ICC and the exhibition centre. So if you go and wash your hands or go to the toilet today, you're welcome, because it was me who installed all of the soap and the there was a few long hours in this building. I'm one of those tradies who likes to go past something, go, oh, I built that. I did a bit there. I was in there. So it's that's one of them ones, and it's quite funny that we're back here now and I'm talking about it. So yeah, it's kind of like a full circle type moment.
Yeah.
But no, I've had many great friends in the industry. You know, I've worked on some amazing projects both back in the UK and here. And yeah, it's an industry that's very close to my heart, and that's why I've stuck with it. I could have easily just went and coached men, women, whatever. However, the trades are where it's at for me. They're my tribe, as they say. So I feel like I'm indebted to give back to them, because no one else is really going to, unfortunately.
Exactly. Well, it's beautiful that you put it like that. So how was the kind of difference of the trade industry that you experienced in the UK versus over here? What was kind of the major differences that you noticed?
One of the main differences is back home, we do kind of everything in-house, per se. So my trade is carpentry joinery. So I started in a workshop where you make everything from a stack of sticks to it being a product. So whether it's windows, doors, worktops, counters, and then you go out and install them on site.
Right.
Whereas when I came here, I found that everything is specialized. Like everybody, you get one company that just does floors. That's all they do. Or you get one company that just installs fire doors, or one company that only does framing. So there was a lot of skill specific stuff I found here, which I still had yet to work out whether it's good or bad. I think it's good that you can do everything. However, I think you hone skills more if you're doing the same thing day in and day out.
For sure.
Some of those jobs can get a little bit more monotonous depending on what you're doing. So if it's like architraves, skirtings, swinging doors, but some people love them. Some people, however, I was always I like the intricate stuff. So like making the 15 pane panel doors, or the sash and case windows back home, or worktops, or seeing something that's a little bit out of the ordinary.
For sure.
So that was one of the main differences. I don't really think there's too much more. I mean, I think when it comes from a mental health perspective, I think we're so behind the 8 ball here. We're getting better. Conversations are kicking up.
With the mental health kind of aspect, I've always kind of viewed it as Australia being so big, we're kind of far away from everyone as well at the same time. So if you don't build a close-knit community around yourself, you don't really have any support system.
Absolutely.
Which is why I think there was the statistics about, Australia being one of the lowest mental health kind of country, even being so well off. And I think that contributes greatly because of how big the land is. There's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of sense of community here. I think, that comes back down to the construction space, where do you think when people work in those big projects, if they don't have a good community or good kind of support system around them, would they be very prone to kind of mental health levels decreasing?
Community is definitely a massive factor on it. And you're right, here in Australia we have so many people here, but they come from so many different backgrounds in countries, and you can live on one street or one apartment block and have multifaceted nationalities, but no one actually does anything together. Whereas back home in the UK, some people can live on the same street all of their life, and they know everybody in each house, and everybody knows everybody's business, and
that's right.
Everyone helps out. And it's I think it's something more that I keep having conversations about, the community aspect, and especially for men, like the brotherhood aspect of we have all of these lone wolves who think they're doing it and they're going out on their own and doing their own thing. However, no, we're as humans, we need people around about us. You need people to bounce ideas off. You need people to have your back. You need people to, understand where you're coming from. And from a men's perspective, it's definitely, there's a lot of people who just go at it on their own, and it's not the way to do it.
You're right.
Like, we definitely need, in construction, I think that's why so many men do so many long hours, because this is the community they have. But then when they go home, they might not have anybody at home. And then that's when, they drink alcohol, drugs, gambling, all of those bad habits come in, because they're filling that void when they go home, because they don't have anything else.
That's right.
Another one I get when I offer coaching is like, oh, it's all right, I go down to the pub with my mates and we talk about our stuff and that. You don't really. Well, that's just an echo chamber of 5 guys drinking beer talking about the same stuff.
Very surface level.
Very surface level. it probably takes one of those guys to pull himself away from it, and then he gets chastised. Oh, you're not coming for a beer. And it's like, the social aspect of going to the pub is great.
Yeah.
However, the fundamentals of fixing yourself at the pub, they're non-existent. We have quite a big alcohol trade culture here.
Definitely.
It's like, go for a beer. I'm all for going for a beer and open up the conversation, because guys do relax a bit more. But it's when you go every night and have 6 or 7 beers, and you wake up the next morning and you're feeling rough, and then that's when you go and you grab a pie or a bacon roll or something, and then it's just, you're chasing your tail every day because your diet's shot, your mental health shot, because you're hungover, and
Yes.
and then that's when the financial aspect comes in. Guys just start spending too much money, and then they don't know how to get back on, so they're chasing their tail,
Keep
working
spiraling.
Friday to Friday.
Yeah.
And it's just an ever evolving. That's what we need to change in the industry. Specifically, we need to educate our guys better.
Right.
On those aspects, like, this is why you're doing this. Like, this is the void that you're filling, and it might be because you saw your dad go for a beer after. It's the culture that you've come from, or the environment that you've come from.
Yeah.
However, it might not be what you need right now, and it's opened guys' eyes to that there is another way to do things. It can be a very isolated place when you're trying to work on yourself, so you need to find a community of guys and girls who are on the same path, like-minded. That whole, the power of the 5 people in your life. When you start doing personal development and you start looking after yourself, it's definitely true, because it's the old phrase, you'll never see a hater doing better than you. When you start trying to fix yourself, heal yourself,
Right.
make improvements so that you can actually spend time with your family, spend time with your kids, spend time for yourself. Like, a lot of tradies don't ever have time on their own.
That's right.
And because they just don't know that that's a
They
thing
don't
to
know
do.
what to do when they're alone as well. Yeah.
So it's a multifaceted way of looking at it, but however, if we don't start, we'll never fix it.
As you mentioned, when tradies kind of go into that lone wolf, that hustle culture mindset, and then they'll just have a few beers with their friends as this, I guess, in their perspective, it's a remedy for them because they're chatting, talking about their feelings. But as you mentioned, it's very surface level. How would you suggest that they would better prompt these questions, or better, I guess, connect with those individuals? Because very much so, these people around you having a beer, they could be the right people as well to basically open up about how you're feeling, but they just don't know how to.
Well, that's it. It's having the conversations that go a little bit deeper than, the footy, or, what's going on for them that day at work. And it's the culture of men just opening up. So I'm putting together, it's called the Modern Tradie Collective. So it's an event I'm looking to run in September, and it's going to be a space for initially tradesmen, tradeswomen if they want to come and join, but there's a lot of tradeswomen spaces right now, and I don't see many for guys. So I'm putting one together, and it's going to be, speakers like myself, people who have been in the industry, who have made a life change, so they can speak to the people who are listening. And it's just a place for guys who want to change, or have had enough of the way of life, to come together and have a space, a community for them. I'd advise people to look out for that. I'm hoping to do it in September up in the hills area of Sydney, and then if that one goes well, then expand it and look to have an area just where guys can come, whether it's for an hour or two, to come together, find out what someone else is doing, what they're doing in their life to change differently, implement it, make new connections, make new friendships, and hopefully strive to build it bigger so that it becomes an industry standard of, this is where you go to if you're in construction and you want to change.
Definitely, it's fantastic that the future prospects that you're working on is very exciting.
Absolutely,
so great, looking forward to that. And I guess to sum everything up, we like to do a short 1-sentence kind of quote or advice that you'd like to give out to the viewers.
So I'll go with my one of many that I have, but this one probably is best suited. Help comes from a simple conversation. If you don't tell anyone that you're struggling, they don't know. And it's amazing the conversations that you can have with somebody who they could reframe the way you're thinking and help you. So help starts with a simple conversation.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Brother, thank you very much.